Hello everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie. I'm Long Island's eating disorder specialist and I post on this channel all about eating disorders, body image issues, and general mental health. So if any of that interests you, please click the subscribe button down below. Also, if you found this video helpful at the end, I would greatly appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Today I wanted to talk about boundaries and particularly really looking at toxicity in your life, particularly even more specifically in the forms of people. Boundary setting with people and toxic people especially is absolutely imperative. So when I talk about boundaries, I mean that we are always going to have our best interests in mind more than anyone else. So that means that we have to look after our resources, whether that is time, energy, and money. All of those things are belonging to you, and you have the right to decide what and where you will spend those resources. So when it particularly comes to toxic people, we have to recognize that usually when we have toxic people in our lives, what happens is that we're draining our resources, whether that's time, whether that's energy, or whether that is money. And that is not something that's okay. It's not good for your mental health. And particularly, I wanted to talk about toxic people who really cause you to be harder on yourself, who maybe contribute to your disordered eating, your eating disorder, body image issues, whatever it is that you're struggling with. We need to be addressing these people. So number one, of course, I always talk about awareness. Awareness is the number one thing that we have to talk about when it comes to anything. We have to become more aware of the people in our life who are these toxic people. And remember, and when I talk about toxic people, that doesn't mean that they're horrible people. That doesn't mean that you could basically swap out devil hordes and that would be, the person that you would be seeing. That's not what I mean absolutely at all. Toxic people, usually they have their own struggles. They're not evil people. They're just struggling, and there's not room for that in your life. And it's really a matter of becoming more aware of who these people are. And at this point, that's all we're doing. So I would really just pause this video, take a few minutes, and write down a list of people in your life that you think could be toxic. And there's no judgment on that. And I don't care if it's someone really, really close to you or someone who is distant to you. That's all part of the process. So write it all down, and then we're going to take action the next step. Now that you took some time to write down the people in your life that you believe may be toxic, I want you to take the next step to actually look into and write down next to each one, like why? Why is it that you believe that this person is toxic? Is it because they constantly are talking about diets in front of you and that's really hard for you to hear? Is it constantly because they are commenting on your food? Is it because they are the ones that make you shame you because you're not working out as much? What is it that is causing them to be toxic in your life? And just write that down. Again, pause this video, take a moment to do that. Pardon the interruption. I wanted to speak here a little bit about my recovery starter kit. If you haven't yet done so, to get your hands on my free recovery starter kit, go into the link in the description below to subscribe to my email list, and you are seconds away from receiving that recovery starter kit in your email box. When I designed this, I really had the intention in mind that it's going to be helpful for anyone, whether they are at the very beginning of their recovery journey or they're looking at something in the middle of it, or just needing something to restart it and really reinvigorate that journey. So if any of that sounds like it could be helpful for you, that's how you get your hands on it. Again, the link in the description below. All right, now that you took these two steps, I want you to go through and put these people into categories. So we have to take really into account this person's relationship to you. We have to understand that when it's your mother and specifically you're living with them, or living with her, that's going to be different than if it's a friend from school that you could kind of take it or leave it. Because there's people that we're going to be, for the most part, I don't want to say stuck with, but stuck with. And there's people that are going to be more expendable. And it's really a matter of figuring all that stuff out, because some toxicity we do have to live with to some extent. And I'll explain that more in a moment. So I want you to go through and talk about, just really maybe jot a few words down about each person, about what their relationship is to you, and is it something that you need in your life or you really want in your life. Back to what I was saying before about some toxicity we have to live with. For instance, an example of our mothers. Most people aren't going to want to cut their mothers out of their lives. Obviously, there might be extreme circumstances where that's necessary. I don't think that's oftentimes the case. So that's something that, okay, maybe that relationship is really worth having that discussion with your mom and saying, listen, like, this is where I'm really struggling. And don't be accusatory, like, oh, you do this, you do that. Just saying in the sense of I statements, like, I feel really upset when you comment about my food. You know, those types of statements is going to be really helpful. And you're going to have to understand that some people you'll be able to have kind of adapt to what it is that you need if it's reasonable. And there's going to be other people that don't. And it's hard because, especially when it comes to people who are really close to us, we have to figure out, is this a toxicity that I'm able to accept and deal with? And then that becomes something that you need to work on internally. And I do talk about that with my clients. Some people you will not change, and they're not someone you could just get out of your life, or nor do you want, like, so most particularly when it comes to family. So in that case, with that category, I would say, is this a discussion to have? And should I be talking to this person? How might I approach this person? And really kind of theorize how you might approach that person and what you're going to be doing there is working toward cutting out the toxicity in that relationship. And then I would then put another category right under that, or another question right after that. So what you're going to say then is, if this person doesn't change, how can I work on myself to be able to deal with this toxicity in my life? Because we have to buffer ourselves from those types of things. Now, let's go back to the people that we can get rid of, the people that aren't, the be all and end all in our lives. When you are looking at this list, I want you to really look at them and say, okay, this person, why do you want them in your life? Is there a reason that they contribute to your life? And if they are a close friend or a person that you really care about, is it worth having a conversation with them and seeing if there is something that you can do? And if it's not, if it's just kind of someone that maybe you hang around, they're an acquaintance, or maybe it's someone that you just feel like you want to be friends with because they make you feel bad, which can happen, and maybe shames you into doing things that you feel like your eating disorder wants you to do, really be honest with yourself about this, but then ask yourself, again, is this person someone I should talk to, or is this person a person I need to cut out of my life? And then really making that decision. And if it's a person that you're choosing to cut out of your life, how might you make that happen? And we don't want to, drama is toxic as well. So it's going to be important for you to really navigate this in a way that's more subtle, and not necessarily like, I'm going to cut you out of my friend list and, whatever. But it might look like I'm going to mute the person on social media. I'm going to not really, I'm not going to initiate conversations with this person. And if that person speaks to you, maybe you want to exchange casual conversation, and maybe you don't, and maybe at some point it would turn into a conversation that needs to be had, and saying like, listen, I'm sorry that I have to do this, but I really don't feel like our friendship is working for me right now, and I just want to cool it. We could always have that discussion at another time of how that conversation might look, but for now it's going to be really important. I'll just summarize real quickly. We're going to write a list of all the people that we believe might be toxic in our lives. Then we're going to go through this list and say who's going to be more important to keep in our lives and who's kind of stuck in our lives and who's not. And then going through that, who is worth having a conversation with and who's someone that I need to cut out of my life, and how might that look? And if I have this conversation with this person and it doesn't change, how am I going to buffer myself against the toxicity that I feel that they're contributing to my life? So that's going to be an exercise that's probably going to be something that you'll have to do in many areas of your life, as well as many times in your life. But when you cut out, it's like dead weight. Like when you cut out people who are toxic to you, and again, that doesn't mean that they're a toxic person in general. It doesn't mean anything bad about them necessarily. Most of the time it doesn't, like I said before. It just isn't working at that moment in time, and maybe it'll work in the future. But when you cut that out, it could be so relieving and helps really with your mental health. So I hope that this exercise is helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel, clicking my face in the corner of the screen. And I wish you a less toxic life on your journey to finding your state of balance. And I will see you in my next video.